Arch Advocate podcast for Friday, February 1st. FFF. Fantastic Friday, February 1st. Listen, people, just like the total eclipse of the sun and Halley's Comet passing through our solar system, this only happens once every 7 years, people. Come on! Now, I just said a joke. Believe it or not, there's going to be people listening to that joke that are not going to find the humor in it whatsoever. They're going to be scratching their heads going, wow, this guy's a real effing moron. Doesn't he know that Halley's Comet only comes around, what is it, like 81 years or 71 years or something like that? Eclipses, you know what I mean? There's going to be people that are going to listen to that little stupid thing that I just said and be like offended. Like, oh my gosh, how can this guy be so stupid? Listen, let me tell you something. This podcast here, it's interactive, all right? It's your show. And I said that a million times, but I don't actually mean it. This is my show. I'm going to talk about whatever I want to do, and I'm going to make stupid jokes. It's just how it's going to go, all right? Everybody's got different types of senses of humor. I told you guys, man. I used to date this girl, her mom. I was talking to her mom one day, and the newspaper was open, and there was a Far Side comic. You guys remember those? Do they even have comic pages anymore? The funny pages? Remember the funnies? My grandma used to call them the funnies. What did your grandma used to call them? The funnies. And there was a Larson, Far Side comic in there, and she was looking at it. She's like, this is the stupidest thing. This doesn't even make any sense. You can't put a grand piano in your back pocket. She just didn't. It was like, yeah, I know, that's why it's funny. Because it's impossible. Because it's impossible. And she was just like, I don't understand why you think this is funny. This is so stupid that it's offensive. It's like, man, you're purposely trying to make people dumber by making them believe that somebody could put a grand piano in their back pocket. It's like, nobody believes that. What was worse is, and this was like really, like, this has disturbed me for a lot of years. She was also offended for the same reasons from the movie Airplane, right? She was like, listen, the autopilot on a plane is not a blow-up doll. That's not what an autopilot is. It's electrical. It's computer stuff. It's not a blow-up doll that just. It's like, yeah, I know that's why it's funny. Right? The samurai that like killed himself because he didn't want to listen to the boring stories of that dude anymore. Right? She's like, it's just not fun. It's like, dude, that's hilarious because it would never happen. That's why it's funny. And there's people out there that have senses of humor. This is one of the weirdest parts about being a human being, is that you never know, right? You never know. Like, there's people. You go onto any comedian's page, Owen Benjamin's, Joe Rogan's, the Fighter and the Kid, Jay Moore, Bill Burr, whatever. You read through the comments. It's bizarre, dude. It's bizarre, dude. You go through these things and it's like it's like there's certain people out there that's like, I don't understand how you don't understand that he's kidding. He is a professional kidder. Just kidding, folks. You know what I mean? And there's people that just don't get that. And you, like, well, maybe not you, but I have to keep that in mind when I get the comments that I do, because it's like, wow, you, like, I was getting some comments yesterday about yesterday's show, because I talked about Moloch. And for sure, it was, that's, sometimes I forget, like, there's things that I know because I studied those things, and that those things that I studied are of absolutely no particular interest to a lot of people. I would say probably the majority of people. And so, like, when I mention those things, like, sometimes I forget, like, oh, I have to stop and qualify, right? Like, I have to back way up and be like, well, you see, back in the old days, in when Israel and Syria and Iraq and all that stuff, when that was just all called Canaan, And Canaan was the son of Ham, and Ham was the son of Noah, and Noah cursed Canaan because Ham does whatever. Like, it goes all the way back. And the Canaanites' god was this god named Moloch. And the thing is that these people learned that like if they got into the practice of murdering children, that they would get a certain rush of power, and that power would translate into intimidation of other people, and that intimidation turned into political authority. Moloch was Moloch, whatever, was the god of that. And so, sometimes I forget that there's a whole, when I talk about things, there's a whole history behind these things. Do I believe that there is such a God called Moloch? No, there's only one true God, and that's it. And Satan is referred to as the god of this world, but that's by expressing it that way, it means he's not actually a god. It means he's the prevalent influence on this cross section of space and time that we occupy. That's not the same thing as being a god, and whatever. It gets deeper. But anyways, I'm going to talk about whatever I want to talk about. And I'm just gonna sit here and get into stream of consciousness and just go with it, because that's what I do. That's what I like. It's not for everybody, right? Like, if you're not into that, if you want to hear a completely, really well-structured podcast, Dan Carlin is the place you gotta be. Dan Carlin, in my opinion, I could only hope to be that professional as a podcast. That dude does his work. That's a wonderful podcast. Hardcore History with Dan Carlin. Dude, if that's you, if that's what you need in a podcast, Dan Carlin, man. You can't go wrong. What you can do is run out, because those podcasts take so much work that you don't get them regularly. You get those podcasts whenever the hell Dan Carlin is done with it and ready. Not me, man. I sit down and I talk about Jesus and how it applies, how the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven, applies to what we're going through today. Right? I am the world's second existential Christian. Oh, Pete, what does that mean? Well, again, I have to qualify it. So there was this dude one time, and his name was Soren Kierkegaard. And he was what's called a reformer. He was really just a dude who thought really deep and profound thoughts. He lived about 200 years ago. Excuse me. And he was dubbed, or maybe he self-glossed himself, the world's first existential Christian. I can't remember where that phrase comes from. I'll look it up later. But that's Soren Kierkegaard is the world's first existential Christian. So I'm taking the moniker the world's second existential Christian, because dude, my whole thing with the kingdom of heaven is it's right now. It's in the moment. Because when I read what Jesus said, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is in your reach. It's at hand is what he said. That means in your reach. It's for now. I see Christians just worrying about the afterlife. Oh, I hope I go to heaven when I die. Oh, you're going to go to hell when you die. Blah, blah, blah. It's that's not really, that those decisions are made well beyond any of our pay grade. What is in our control right now is do you live in the kingdom now? Is the kingdom of heaven part of your existence now, in this moment? That's what existentialism is. It's I just have to experience my own existence. It is, existentialism is by itself a false god religion and full of weirdness and whatever. But to be an existential Christian, it's no, this is my existence. I have to experience the kingdom of heaven while I'm on this earth. That's the whole point to me. And there's Christians out there that'll be no, that's not the thing, and you're speaking heresies and whatever. It's okay, well, I will be able to stand in front of God and confidently say, that's what I thought I was supposed to do. I read the scriptures, that's how I interpreted them, and if you needed me to interpret them a different way, well, then it was on you to send your Holy Spirit to correct my thinking, which you promised you would do. This is what I've come up with. This, when I read the words of Jesus, that's what I come up with. Live in the kingdom now. And how does that apply to, like right now? And by the way, I strongly recommend. I'll get to the devotional here in just a second. But how does that apply if you watch? And I strongly recommend that you watch a segment on Tucker Carlson's show from last night, January 31st. If you want to look it up on YouTube. And it's a congressman or senator, I can't remember, from Missouri, and he's pointing out the devastating and measurable devastating effect of iPhones and gadgets, and particularly as it applies to social media, on our young. That it's measurable, right? That it's not some theory where it's just like, oh, this might be bad, it's, like fluoride in the water. Some people say it's bad, some people say it's good. So that's kind of one of those things where it's like, no, I don't know. But no, this is actually this is like smoking. Like, we used to think it was okay. Now we know for a fact, don't let your kids smoke. And if you smoke, you have to be diligent to explain to your kids, like, listen, I do this because I'm stupid. And someday I won't be so stupid and I'll quit. But please, listen, you have to understand, if you smoke, that will be stupid on your behalf. Or on your part. Right? It's the same thing with social media, and you have to look at that. Not look at it and stare into it and go crazy like, oh, the devil is perverting our children, which he is. But you can't look at that. You just have to look at the facts and adjust, react accordingly. Social media is bad for kids. It makes them depressed, and it even makes them measurably stupider. Stupider? Is that a word? Todd? Makes them stupider. More stupid. Right? Go watch the segment. I strongly recommend that. Because when I see those things, when I see that segment, my mind switches immediately over into Kingdom of Heaven mode. How does this apply to the Kingdom of Heaven? What does God's kingdom say about this? Well, he says the same, probably a lot of things, but certainly one of those things is, it's just like smoking. Don't let your kids do it. Right? Keep them away from it, and then once they turn 18 and move out of the house, if they want to go on social media and start smoking, whatever, that's on them. It's like, you're an adult now. You're free to do whatever you want to do, man. So I don't want to, if you're on Reddit or if you're going onto my website and sending me messages, like, look, I'll read your message, but believe me when I tell you, believe me, it doesn't affect me. It really, there's a lot of YouTubers and even famous comedians and movie stars or whatever. They're like, yeah, I just can't read the comments because they're so negative. It's like, it doesn't affect me. It's like, when you read this, it's like, I don't know who you're, a stranger. As far as I know, you're an Alexa robot. You're not even like a real person. I don't know you. Now, if Todd Milligan or Troy Weimer or Aaron Williamson or Eric or whoever, one of you guys writes me and says, hey Pete, I'm really struggling with something you said today. I think it's wrong. Guess what? I'm going to stop what the hell I'm doing and I'm going to contact you. Be like, okay, all right. I'm sure I say stupid things all the time. I'm sure I say wrong things all the time. I'm not afraid of that. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to call me out, call me out. But you better be my friend, or else I'm not going to listen to you. If I don't know you, or here's a good example. Like, there's a couple of listeners who I've never really chatted with. People who even sent me money, right? PayPal.me/archadvocate. People who've sent me money and I've never spoken to them. Like this girl, Erica Schultz? Sorry, Erica, if I messed that up. I've never spoken to her. But I know who she is. I know she's a fan of the show. You know what I mean? So if she writes me and says, hey, I'm really struggling, I really think that what you said today was off base, off color, bad, wrong, stupid, whatever, I will listen because it's like, yeah, I'm aware of your presence. But dude, if you don't have any sort of a step, I'm not, and please don't take this wrong. Like, I'm not saying you need to send me money to have an opinion. That's not what it. Don't do that. If you want to build a relationship with me, go on to my Twitter page at RealPeteDobson1, and from there you can contact me. If you don't want to do it there's an even cooler, more private social media thing called Telegram. It's a little bit more of a pain in the neck to set up, but it's cool. And there's even a phone feature on it. It's nice. I like it. A lot of us like it. You can write me there. We can have free phone calls. You can talk to me. But if I don't know who you are, like if you've never announced yourself and you're just coming out of the blue with some stupid stuff to say about my stupid jokes or the stupid things I say, or you know, you want to vocalize the fact that you don't get what I'm saying, and so you want to use that as you want to take that and attack me with that. It's like, dude, it's okay if you don't get the things I say. Sometimes I say things in a way that's not gettable. You could just write me and just be like, yeah, dude, I'm sorry, man, you totally lost me. Can you back that up? I'll be happy to. Is old Petey feeling a little miffed today? Is that what's going on? On Friday, February 1st? Fantastic Friday, February 1st? Follow me one step at a time, says Jesus. Jesus says, follow me one step at a time. That is all I require of you. That's all I require of you. In fact, this is the only way to move through this cross-section of space and time. You see huge mountains looming, and you start wondering how you're going to scale those heights. Meanwhile, because you're not looking where you're going, you stumble on the easy path that you're on, where I'm leading you. As I help you get back up on your feet, you tell me how worried you are about the cliffs up ahead. But you don't know what will happen today, much less tomorrow. Our path may take an abrupt turn, leading you away from those mountains. You don't know. There may be an easier way up those mountains that is invisible from this distance. You don't know. If I do lead you up those cliffs, believe me, I will equip you thoroughly for that strenuous climb. And I will even give my angels charge over you to preserve you in all of your ways. Keep your mind on the present journey, enjoying my presence. Walk by faith, not by sight, trusting me to open up the way before you. This is, devotional books are weird. It's like to me, it's like every time I read one, it's like, man, that's the word for the day, man. That was to me, man. But really, it's just wisdom. And wisdom always hits you that way. You know what I mean? Words of peace and words that were written by the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, they're always going to hit you the same way. It's like, oh, that's for me. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not like fortune tellers. Fortune tellers, they just speak in generalities like, oh, I'm sensing you have there's a problem with a male figure in your life, and you're like, oh my gosh, I hate my father. This person's really reading my mail. It's like, no, everybody has a problem with their father or mother-in-law. It's like generality. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's like do you get amazed every time, like when you eat like a meal that's good for you? It's balanced, it's got fruits, it's got a salad, it's got some meat for protein, some whatever. And you eat it and you can feel your blood sugar correcting, you can feel your head clearing. Do you ever stop and think like, oh wow, this must be some magical meal? It's like, no, I know why that's good for me. I know why I'm feeling better immediately. Because I wasn't getting proper. I was sitting around eating McDonald's all day, and all of a sudden I hit my system with a salad and some fruit, and my body's like, yes, thank you. It's important to read devotions first thing in the morning. It's important to sit down and write out 1 or 3 or 5 or 10 things that you're grateful for every single day, even if it's just one. And do that for 30 days. Why? Because you need to beat your brain into submission. To train it to say, when we wake up, we think about gratefulness. It's the first thing on our mind. Praise be to the Lord, I have this. I understand that. There is this in my life. There is, even and particularly, because you need to graduate to the point to where even your trials become the fodder, the cannon fodder, in which to fire those cannonballs against the enemy. You have to train your mind for that, and it's not easy. And the minute that you endeavor to do it, you're going to see the spiritual realm opening up, and it's not going to be pretty at first. Some of it will be, but most of it's going to be, you're going to start realizing, all of a sudden you have all these weird, out of place distractions, things that were never a distraction for you before. You're going to be bothered by people who never bothered you before. That is a result of you endeavoring to practice the presence of God. And it gets, you get stronger and the battles become more fierce. Right? And your battles are an indication of where you are spiritually. Right? Like your first battle, like for me, because again, okay, I'm just to back up just a second. I'm doing a prayer clinic with 4 men every morning as soon as they wake up. Because keep in mind, I'm 9 hours ahead of Pacific time and 6 hours ahead of Eastern time. So morning, 3 o'clock in the morning is not the same for me, right? And some of the guys I meet with, it's 3 o'clock in the morning their time. And the reason I do that is because, one, I know for a fact that that's not something that gets taught a whole lot. That one-on-one discipleship on a daily basis is not something that happens in Christianity. And when it does, it's very rare. And 2, because I need it. I need it. I'm not like some monk sitting on top of a mountaintop with my legs crossed, chanting ohms. I'm just like you, man. I'm just like you. The only difference is that I've done this before. This turf is a little bit more familiar to me than it might be for you. But that's it. Other than that, there is no distinct advantage that I have. The only advantage that I have is that I've already been given the blueprint and have used it. That's it. And so we practice gratefulness first thing in the morning. And I strongly recommend that you do the same. And if you want to join the group, or if I'm thinking like for people who can't join the group but want to at least kind of tag along a little bit, maybe I can come up with something that's maybe like a once a week thing for the rest of you. But whatever, I don't know. Who knows? If you have good ideas, send them to me. But this thing with the iPhones and the Androids and the access that we have now to Google and Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, porn, right? And the effect that it's having on our children, that is one thing you need to know about me is that I see all those things through a spiritual lens. There's a reason why pornography is free nowadays. There is an agent of death who is trying to remove men from the equation. How do you do that? Well, you can't kill them, right? We're too advanced of a society. We don't do that anymore. But what you can do is just take away their manhood, and then they won't be men. The addiction to pornography is very real. There's a lot of men, even in the church, who struggle with that. And look, man, I'm familiar with addiction, just not that particular one, but I'm familiar with addiction. I understand. But you have to understand, if that's you, like if you're having a difficult time with pornography, let me put it to you this way. You are under attack. You are being emasculated. You're having your peas and carrots removed. right? That is the purpose of that attack. You are being snipped, gelded. You are being made so that you cannot have children, and if you can have children, you can't raise good ones because you've got a poison in you. A poison that makes you look at women in such a way that it is heartbreaking to God, and that's the point. Everything that is evil, everything that is of the devil, it has a purpose, and the purpose is to break God's heart. That's the only thing Satan is trying to accomplish. And when men get into pornography, and the way that affects the lens in which they look through to look at women, that breaks God's heart. Women are special in a sense that is profound because women are extra creation. They are external to the creation story. The creation story is 6 days long. And on the sixth day, and this is why the number 6 is important. Some say like, oh, the number 6, it's evil. No, it's not. 6 means beasts, and 6 means man. Because on the 6th day, God created man and all the beasts. And the reason why it's called the mark of the beast is because evidently at some point in the future, people are going to give themselves over and completely resign themselves to the idea of that they are not people at all, they are beasts. And 6 is the number of the beast. Follow? But it's also the number of man. That's on the 6th day man was created. And it was after that 6th day, and after the 7th day when God rested, it was after that God said to Adam, I've got something really special for you. I've got a new present for you. I've given you the earth, all the living things that are in the sea, all the animals that, these magnificent animals that I've created. I've given you all these things, the mountains and the valleys and the springs of water. I've given it all to you. But you know what? I've got one more present for you. Here, go to sleep. When you wake up, your present will be waiting for you. And that morning, as the sun came up in that blue morning light, stood a naked woman covered in the morning dew, shimmering in that blue morning sunlight. It was a very special gift. And to see women as anything other than that breaks God's heart. It's a very special gift. And when you look at pornography, you are purposely damaging the art of that vision. It's like if you go to the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, which I do recommend. I don't recommend going to Los Angeles, but if you must be there, go to the Getty Museum. It's unbelievable. You can't drive there, by the way. You have to go to the bottom of this mountain, and then there's a tram that goes to the top. There's no cars allowed up there. And the Getty Foundation, it was just a bunch of rich dudes who were like, hey, listen, let's just buy this whole mountain, and on the top of it, we're going to build this temple made out of marble. I mean, it's beautiful, and there's gardens. I mean, it's really something to behold. And it's one of the only places in Los Angeles that you can catch a breath of fresh air. And there's artwork there. Rembrandts and Picassos and Dalis and, like all these different people. Goya, all those people. And there's no security. There's no security. Because there's nowhere to go. Like, you can't just run out and just grab the tram. It's like they'll stop it. So like you can literally reach out and touch a piece of artwork that's 500 years old and ruin it. With the oils that are in your hands already and the filth from your daily life. You can reach out and put that filth on that picture and ruin it. I mean, you'll get in a lot of trouble, I'm sure, but you could do that. You could do you could fling poo on it like a monkey. And that's, what a shame that would be if you did that. What a shame it would be if somebody did that. You'd be like, dude, that's not replaceable. There's only one of that. Why did you do that? Like, you just completely crapped all over this beautiful piece of work. Why did you do that? So what you do when you look at porn. Don't do that. Like, stop. And if you needed further motivation, if that's you, those women in those porn movies, they're all, you have to be of a severely damaged psyche to get to that place to where you're willing to exchange your sexuality for money and fame. You have to endure horrific abuse as a child to get to that place. Those are broken women, many of whom are there outside of their will. They were given drugs, they were made dependent on drugs, and then they were told, you can keep doing drugs, but you gotta stay on your back with your clothes off and let us do what we want to do to you. They're slaves. And they are in hell where they are. These women are in hell. They're not going to hell when they die. They are in hell right now. And when you look at that pornography, what you are saying is, yes, yes, yes. That's what you're saying when you look at porn. You are saying, more of this, please. More of this soul slavery. More of this defecating on a beautiful piece of work. More of this hellish bondage. You know? Slavery is what it is. When you watch it, you endorse it. Be careful. If you have that problem, you must cry out to the Lord. And do it every day. And do it every single time that urge hits you. I understand those. I understand. Whether it's food or cigarettes or fentanyl or heroin or porn or alcohol or whatever. Gambling. Whatever. Addictions all cause the same reaction, like physically in your body. Like when you desire that thing. Like every time I quit smoking, there for about 2 or 3 weeks, every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes there will be this lightning pain in my brain, like an urge, and it hurts. It's like, oh, you must smoke. I'm assuming that porn addicts go through the same thing. Heroin addicts and gambling addicts and everything, right? Addiction, physically, addiction is the same. There's varying degrees, but it's all the same. And when it comes to iPhones and Androids and social media as it applies to my children, our children, we have to safeguard them against the addiction to that. Because it's turning them into beasts. Sad, anxious, stupid, like literally, you can monitor it. It's measurable. IQs are being lowered because of it. And you need to go listen to this guy on Tucker Carlson and listen to this whatever he is, congressman or senator, or governor, whatever he is. And listen to the research that he's compiled for you and make your decision from there. Because just like in the example that I gave you of porn or ruining art or anything like that, the spiritual side of it is more real than what you're experiencing, that what you and I are all experiencing on a moment-to-moment basis. It's more real than that. See it. See it. Now, speaking of lies and deceptions, you can say something that you truly believe and still be lying. Right? You can say something that is completely false and still be honest. like still believe in your heart that it's the truth. You can do that. You can say, now this is where it gets weird. You can say something that is the truth and still be lying. What? Pete, that's ridiculous. Well, I mean, first of all, if the inverse is true, then safe to say, well, here's what I'm saying. Like, if there's, Joel Osteen, right? I'm going to pick on old poor Joel again. Joel Osteen says things that are true, but he's lying, right? You can have a minister, there's ministers out there that talk about Jesus all day long, and what they're saying is the truth, but they themselves are lying. How's that possible, Pete? You might ask. Well, the thing is like if you don't know that it's true, like if you don't know it, then when you're saying it, you're lying. The thing itself might be the truth, but when you're saying it, you're lying. Right? Here, I'll give you an example. So, I have never been to outer space. I have never held employment as an astronaut. Never received a paycheck from NASA. Also, I'm pretty good at like game theory math, but I don't know the higher echelons of math. I'm not, I don't know those things. So I would not be able to prove to you, I would not be able to prove to anybody that the world is round, right? I've never seen it for myself. I've seen pictures, but I mean, in this day and age, anything can be photoshopped. Well, I've seen video. Remember, there used to be that channel on TV from the satellite showing the Earth. I used to love looking at that thing. It's like, wow, is that the Earth? That's cool. But I don't know. That could have been fake too. Did you ever see Avatar? Man, all that stuff looked real. Real. So if I was to go around and tell people, like, yeah, man, the Earth is round. The Earth is round. The Earth is round. I know, man. I would be lying. The thing I said would be true, right? I believe that. I believe the Earth is round. The thing I said was true, but if I'm going around telling people like, oh no, you got to believe that the Earth is round, it's like, well, I'm lying. Why? Because I don't know it myself. I trust that all that stuff is true, but I don't know it. So when Ocasio, Sweetie Pie, I call her Sweetie Pie. You call her Alexandria Ocasio, Nina Pinta Santa Maria. Right? She was cute a few years ago. Now she just looks like her face is literally morphing into a donkey face. I think I sincerely believe that is literally happening. I mean, just in the last year, have you not seen her face morph? Tell me that her teeth are not, like her jaw and her teeth and her nose, they're not starting to elongate. And she just goes on TV. The Earth is going to end in 12 years. She believes what she's saying, I think. I think that she's been so badly indoctrinated, she believes it. She believes it with all of her soul. I believe that if her life depended on it, if a doctor walked into the room and said, Miss Cortez, I'm sorry, but you got butt cancer. You're going to die in 6 months. But we, the science, we the representatives of our Lord and Savior science, we have discovered a cure for cancer, particularly butt cancer, like you have in your butt. The thing is that you have to, if you believe the thing that's causing your cancer is that you believe in man-made catastrophic climate change and that green energy and that we can all get off of fossil fuels within 12 years. It's that belief that's causing the cancer. What you need to do right now is say in your heart with me, I do not believe this. Like, I believe in that case she would die of cancer because she truly believes what she's saying, and yet it is a lie. What do you mean it's a lie, Pete? Well, okay. She wants to she wants to get off of oil in 12 years. And anybody who's not on board with that, those are the evil people who want to destroy the world. Do you see how that works? Listen, we're the good people, right? Fossil fuels, man, CO2, it's a killer. Look at how cold it is. We told you, the climate's changing and it's catastrophic. People are dying. Don't mention the fact that every few years or so this happens somewhere on the planet and a bunch of people die, and it's always been that way. Just forget about all that. But we want to save the world, and if you don't believe what we believe, then you want to destroy the world. Therefore, you are evil and you should die. And how are we going to go about this Green New Deal where we're going to get rid of all fossil fuels? That's crude oil and all of its products and natural gas. All right? Well, there's a problem with that. So you're saying that in 12 years, airplanes will be battery operated and fueled by sunlight and wind and water. Right? That's what you're saying. Okay, well, if that's the case, then what you're saying is we need better technology on batteries, because as it stands right now, the New York City subway system, just the subway system alone, could not be powered by solar energy if it was a solar energy panel farm that was 5 times the size of Central Park. It's not efficient, and it never has been. I mean, it's good, it's just not efficient. And the way that those things works is this, the solar panels take the energy, but then it has to be stored in a battery. Batteries aren't just cylinders with nothing in it. Batteries are made from minerals. Those minerals have to be mined. And the easiest place and the most abundant place for those minerals to be mined is in Africa. And the people that are working those mines in Africa are black people. And those particular black people are slaves to this day. So every time you go and you buy a Tesla with its battery pack in it, you are saying yes to slavery. When I bought this here MacBook, in a sense, I was saying yes, slavery. Because the battery in it is made of minerals that were mined by actual people living in slavery. Right? The Young Turks, when they're on their, because everything is racist for the Young Turks, every time they open up their Apple product, or their Samsung product, or their Canon product, or whatever, they are saying yes to slavery. Because the minerals in the batteries come from slaves. So when Alexandria Cortez says, well, we want to get off of fossil fuels, what she is saying is we want more slaves. We want slaves working in Africa, pulling up those minerals that we need for the batteries so that we can get off of fossil fuels. Now she would say, oh no, we need to fix that slavery. We need to pay those people. And it's like, okay, how much is that going to cost us? Another 70%? So instead of paying 70% of our taxes to you because of your crusade, now we have to pay 140% of our income? Well, sweetheart, I know you didn't. I know you did study economics, but evidently you escaped that completely unscarred by education. There's actually only 100% of anything. There is no number bigger than 100%. That's it. It represents all of it. She's lying. She doesn't mean to. She believes what she's saying, but she's lying. Wind energy, and like we have in San Diego, where I'm from. If you go a little bit north and get into Riverside County, where like Palm Springs, or is Palm Springs Riverside? Or no, that's Palm Springs is what's the name of that festival in the desert? The hell is the name of that festival? No, it's not Burning Man. It's Coachella. So that county is Coachella County, I believe. And out there, it's very windy, right? On the I-10, it goes through this valley, this desert valley, from Los Angeles, from Arizona to Los Angeles, there's this stretch right by Palm Springs. It's just a wind tunnel. It's always windy. Violently, like it's really very windy. And so they have a lot of wind, those wind turbines. And they put them in probably 30 some years ago, and they're very expensive and they're highly inefficient. Right? It's something like you pay like $2 million for it, and over the course of 100 years, you get like $20,000 worth of electricity. Something crazy like that. Like it's really, really inefficient. And you have to use a lot of natural materials to build it. You know what I mean? Like aluminum comes from somewhere. You know what I mean? Like wood comes from somewhere. Copper wiring, all that stuff, it comes from somewhere. You want to see the devastating effects of mining copper? Go to Salt Lake City. Go to Copper Mountain. It's right there in the valley. It's this whole mountain that is a gigantic eyesore because they've torn it down because it's just full of copper. It's just this big ugly thing that's just been chewed away at. And it's like, listen, I don't have any problem with that. You know what I mean? Like, look, we need that copper. Go get that copper. Just don't get it twisted. You know what I mean? Don't get it screwed up in your mind like you're some sort of, you're trying to help the environment while you're using your things that have copper in it, like electricity that carries the electricity, Copper carries the electricity from point A to point B. Well, that stuff comes from somewhere. If you want to see what you're doing, Miss Cortez, every time you flip on the light switch, fly to Salt Lake City and go have a gander at Copper Mountain. You did that. And so did I. And I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I look at that mountain and I think like, oh man, I wish there was another way. Because I don't want to look at that. I bet that was a really pretty mountain. Man, I wish there was another way. But you know what? There's not. So, okay, whatever. End of conversation. You talk about slavery that is happening right now. There's over 40 million people living in slavery. That's more than any point in the history of the world. It's awful. It's absolutely awful that a man could allow himself to be subdued to that level. But at the end of the day, when it comes to men, not women, not children, but men are being taken captive and shipped off into slavery. I don't understand how a man could be, it's like, dude, if you come and attack me, and if I can see that you are physically superior to me, and you've got me outgunned, and I have no chance of living if I fight. But if I don't fight, one of two things is about to happen. I'm either going to die because you're going to kill me, or I'm going to live and be a slave. Guess what? Old Petey's going to be going off to the sweet by and by that day, and I'm going to do my best to take you with me. I don't understand how a man could allow himself to be thrust into that situation. How is it that these men don't fight? You hear about these men that get subdued by these African gangs, and then they're, the warlords and whatnot, and then they're shipped off to, Zimbabwe or whatever, and they have to go, work in the fields to collect diamonds for the Rothschilds. Or not Rothschilds, but De Beers and those guys. It's like, well, wouldn't it be better if you just went out in a blaze of glory and just ran up on your massa and attacked him until he killed you? Wouldn't that be better than living as a slave? That concept is foreign to me, man. So when I open up my MacBook and my iPhone that I paid thousands of dollars for, my Android, it's like, yeah, man, I mean, these batteries, this is a product of slavery. I'm aware of it. It shocks me. It disgusts me. What I don't do is what the left does. And excuse it. Make excuses. Right? I look at the ugly truth and I say, yeah, that's ugly. That is ugly. I'm sorry that's happening. And if you call upon me to do something about it, I will. What I won't do is sit around and say like, oh, in 12 years, like airplanes, we're not gonna have to have fossil fuels anymore because we're smart and you're stupid and you're trying to kill the planet. You're lying. And it's worse because it's a lie of stupidity. Like, you're not lying out of deception. You're not trying to deceive anybody. You're lying because you're stupid and you don't know. And this is the climate that we're living in right now. And you have to see it. And see it for what it is. And see the humor in it, too. It's very important to see the humor in it. There's these memes going around that are like, oh, the left hates Ocasio-Cortez because she's young and energetic. It's like, I haven't seen a single Republican say anything other than like this lady just says ridiculous stuff. I've never seen any sort of hatred. All I've seen is, man, yeah, probably 6-7 years ago, I would have wanted to, take her out on a date, take her out on the town. But listen. Find the humor in it. See the lie. Don't be deceived. See it for what it is. That's the show for today. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. If you want to support the show, you know where to go. PayPal.me/archavocate. You guys have yourself a wonderful Friday, February 1st. Talk to you Monday. Bye-bye.